The necklace caught the afternoon light, its diamonds scattering tiny rainbows across my office wall. 3 carats, at least. The price tag was still attached, tucked beneath the velvet box's cushion, $4,000. My hands trembled as I held it, this beautiful thing that wasn't meant for me. I'm Evelyn, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I knew my husband. The box had fallen from Nathan's jacket pocket while I was hanging it up, a simple, everyday gesture that shattered everything. He'd been struggling to make his real estate commission these past months. We'd been eating ramen noodles and declining dinner invitations, pinching pennies so hard they screamed. Nathan? I called out, my voice steady, despite the storm brewing inside me. Could you come here for a minute? His footsteps approached from the kitchen. What's up, babe? I'm running late for that open house. He froze in the doorway, color draining from his face as his eyes locked onto the necklace. Interesting find in your pocket, I said, dangling it between us. Want to explain how you afforded this on our ramen noodle budget? Evelyn, I can explain. His hand reached for the necklace, but I pulled it back. Please do. I'm fascinated to hear how you managed to spend $4,000 while I've been canceling my art supplies subscription to save money. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then quickly shoved it back in his pocket. It's for Mother's birthday. The lie hung between us like poison gas. Margaret, his mother, wouldn't be caught dead wearing anything less than Harry Winston. Besides, her birthday was 8 months ago. Try again, I said, wrapping the necklace around my wrist. And this time, remember I handle our taxes. I know exactly how much commission you've made this year. Nathan's face hardened, a transformation I'd seen more frequently lately. I don't have time for this. I'm late. For what? The open house you mentioned earlier, or something else? He grabbed his keys from the desk, jaw clenched. We'll talk about this later. No, I said, standing up. We'll talk about it now. But he was already walking away, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood floors. The front door slammed, and his car engine roared to life. I sat back down, the necklace cool against my skin. My phone lit up with a text from Margaret. Nathan tells me you're being difficult again. Remember, dear, men need their space. Of course he'd already called his mother. He always did. I opened my laptop and pulled up our joint bank account. Time to find out exactly what other secrets my husband had been keeping. 3 hours into combing through our bank statements, my screen blurred with numbers that didn't add up. Nathan's struggling business had somehow managed regular withdrawals of $800 every Friday for the past 4 months. Cash withdrawals. The kind that leave no trace of where they end up. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. I let it go to voicemail, like the previous 4 calls. The front door opened, and Nathan's keys clattered in the ceramic bowl I'd made during our first year of marriage. His footsteps hesitated in the hallway. Still up? He called out. Still investigating, I answered, not looking up from my laptop. How was your open house? He appeared in the doorway, suit jacket missing, tie loosened. It went well. Had a few interested buyers. Really? That's fascinating, considering the listing you mentioned was cancelled 2 weeks ago. I checked. Nathan's shoulders tensed. I meant a different property. $800, Nathan. Every Friday. I turned the laptop toward him. Want to explain that too? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that used to make my heart flutter. Now it just made me sick. You're spying on me? Spying implies secrecy. This is our joint account. The one we promised to be transparent about. His phone buzzed. Again, that quick glance, that subtle shift away. Answer it, I said. I'm sure your mother is worried sick about how I'm terrorizing you. Don't bring her into this. Why not? You already did. I stood up, walking toward him. Tell me something. Does she know about the necklace? About the cash withdrawals? Or does she just know what a terrible wife I am for questioning her precious son? You're being paranoid. He backed away, bumping into the doorframe. This is exactly why I can't talk to you anymore. You twist everything. I twist everything? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him flinch. That's rich, coming from someone who can't even keep his lies straight about an open house. His phone buzzed again. This time, I caught a glimpse of the screen before he could hide it. The name wasn't Margaret. It was Sophie. Who's Sophie? I asked, watching his face carefully. For a split second, panic flashed across his features before he schooled them into neutrality. A client. A client who texts at 11 at night? I have to go. He turned abruptly. Mother needs me to check on her furnace. Of course she does. I watched him retreat, his back rigid with guilt. Tell Sophie I said hi. He stumbled slightly but didn't look back. The front door slammed harder this time. I picked up my phone and dialed Lucas. It was time to call in reinforcements. Lucas's car idled outside Margaret's house while I gathered my nerve. Breaking into my mother-in-law's home wasn't part of my life plan, but neither was discovering my husband's affair through a diamond necklace. You don't have to do this, Lucas said, gripping the steering wheel. We could just hire a private investigator. No time. I checked my phone. Margaret's bridge club lasts another hour. Nathan's at his supposed open house. This is my chance. The spare key was still hidden under the ceramic frog, the one I'd given her 3 Christmases ago. Inside, the house smelled of lavender and judgment, just like always. I headed straight for Margaret's study. If Nathan was hiding anything, she'd know. She always knew. The filing cabinet yielded nothing unusual until I reached the bottom drawer. Behind tax returns and insurance papers sat a manila envelope labeled Nathan, personal. My hand shook as I opened it. Bank statements. Not from our joint account, but from a private one I'd never seen before. Deposits matching those Friday withdrawals, plus more. Much more. Then I saw it. A letter, unfinished, in Nathan's messy scrawl. Sophie, I know this isn't fair to anyone. The guilt keeps me up at night, but I can't stop thinking about you. Evelyn suspects something's wrong, and Mother's getting nervous. Maybe we should. The rest was crossed out, but it didn't matter. The truth burned in my hands, confirmed by a stack of receipts. Dinner reservations. Hotel charges. A lease agreement for an apartment across town. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Darling, her voice dripped honey-coated venom. I just got the most interesting call from my neighbor. Something about a strange car outside my house? My throat closed. Margaret. Stay right there, dear. Nathan and I are on our way. The line went dead. I scrambled to photograph everything, hands trembling so badly I could barely hold the phone. The lease agreement. The bank statements. The letter. Footsteps on the porch. A key in the lock. I shoved everything back into the drawer, but as I turned to run, something caught my eye. A small safe, partially visible behind a painting that hung crooked on the wall. The door opened downstairs. Margaret's voice carried up, sharp with anticipation. Check upstairs, Nathan. I'll look down here. I had seconds to decide. Run, or risk everything to see what Margaret kept hidden behind that painting. Nathan's footsteps hit the stairs. I reached for the painting. Sometimes the biggest betrayals hide in the smallest spaces, and I was done running from the truth. The contents of Margaret's safe lay scattered across Lucas's kitchen table, a grotesque puzzle of my husband's betrayal. Photographs of Nathan and Sophie at restaurants, parks, intimate moments they thought were private. Bank records showing transfers from Margaret's account to Nathan's secret one. And most damning of all, a prenuptial agreement I'd never seen, dated 3 days before our wedding. You need to sit down, Lucas said, pushing a glass of whiskey toward me. I ignored it, spreading out the documents like tarot cards, predicting my destruction. She planned this from the beginning. The prenup, the secret account, everything. My phone lit up with another message from Nathan, "Come home. We can work this out." Lucas picked up one of the photos. "This Sophie, she looks familiar." "She should." I pulled up Margaret's Facebook page, scrolling to a post from 2 years ago. Margaret's charity gala. Sophie was her event coordinator. The realization hit like a physical blow. She introduced them. My mother-in-law introduced my husband to his mistress. Evelyn. No. I grabbed my keys. I'm done hiding. Done investigating. I'm going to confront them. Lucas caught my arm. That's exactly what they want. Margaret called the police, reported you for breaking and entering. Nathan's probably waiting at home to serve you divorce papers. Let them try. I yanked free. I've got evidence of fraud, conspiracy. And proof you committed a crime to get it. He stepped between me and the door. Think. What would a graphic designer do with all this material? I stopped, really looking at the evidence spread before me. Receipts. Bank statements. Photos. Digital breadcrumbs leading to destruction. I need my laptop, I said slowly. And access to Margaret's donor list from that charity gala. Lucas smiled. Now you're thinking clearly. My phone buzzed again. Margaret, this time, darling, you're only making things worse for yourself. Come to the house, let's talk like family. Family. The word tasted like ash. I sat down at the table and finally picked up the whiskey. How good are you at building websites? Good enough. What are you planning? Margaret's always been obsessed with her public image. Her social status. I pulled my laptop from my bag. Let's see how her charity donors react when they discover where their money really went. That's not revenge, Lucas said quietly. That's nuclear war. I opened a new document and began to type. No, that's just the beginning. Nathan and Margaret want to play games? Fine. But they forgot something important. What's that? I thought of the prenup, hidden all these years, designed to leave me with nothing. I design things for a living. I know how to make anything look good, or very, very bad. The whiskey burned going down, but not as much as the betrayal. It was time to get creative. The website went live at midnight. By dawn, Margaret's phone wouldn't stop ringing. I watched her social media meltdown through Lucas's laptop screen, each notification a small victory. The charity board wants an emergency meeting, Lucas read from his phone. 3 major donors have pulled out. I adjusted the last few photos on the site, Nathan and Sophie's romantic dinner dates, conveniently dated during charity events. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers. All perfectly arranged to tell a story of fraud and betrayal. Margaret's calling again, Lucas said. Let her. I pulled up my email. I'm not done yet. The anonymous tip to the IRS about Margaret's creative accounting had already gone through. Next came the email to Nathan's real estate broker about his creative handling of client funds. My phone lit up with Nathan's message, "Whatever you think you're doing, stop. You're destroying everything." I typed back, "Funny. That's exactly what you did. You okay?" Lucas touched my shoulder. Better than okay. I clicked send on another email blast to Margaret's social circle. I'm just getting started. The doorbell rang. Lucas checked the security camera. It's Sophie. My fingers froze over the keyboard. What? Should I let her in? Sophie looked different in person, younger, more uncertain than in the photos. She clutched a manila envelope. I know what you're doing, she said, sitting across from me. And I want to help. I laughed. Help? You're sleeping with my husband. Was sleeping with him. She opened the envelope. Until I found out what he and Margaret were really planning. The documents she spread out made my revenge plot look like child's play. Property transfers. Offshore accounts. A whole network of financial manipulation with Margaret at the center. Nathan wasn't just cheating with me, Sophie said. He was helping Margaret embezzle from her own charity. I was supposed to be the distraction, keep you focused on the affair while they moved the money. My hands shook as I read through the papers. Why are you showing me this? Because Margaret tried to double-cross me too. Sophie's smile turned sharp. And I believe in karma. Lucas leaned forward. How do we know we can trust you? You don't. She stood up. But ask yourself this, why would Margaret introduce her son to her charity's event coordinator unless she needed someone who understood how money moved through nonprofits? She left her envelope on the table. I stared at the documents, my carefully crafted revenge plan suddenly feeling inadequate. Lucas, I need your laptop again. Evelyn. They wanted to play games? I opened a new file. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate a graphic designer with nothing left to lose. Margaret's living room felt smaller now, with 4 people's rage filling the space. Nathan paced by the fireplace, Sophie perched on the edge of an armchair, and Margaret sat like a queen on her throne. Perfectly composed except for the slight tremor in her hands. I placed my laptop on the coffee table, screen facing them. Shall we begin? You've made your point, Margaret said. The charity board is the least of your problems. I pulled up the offshore account records. Did you really think Sophie wouldn't keep receipts? Nathan stopped pacing. Sophie? Sorry, darling. Sophie's smile was razor sharp. But your mother should have paid me what she promised. Nobody is paying anyone anything, I said, typing in the final command. Because in 30 seconds, every transaction, every transfer, every dirty little secret goes public. Unless what? Margaret's voice cracked. You sign over everything. The house, the accounts, your precious social standing, all of it goes to the charity you've been stealing from. Nathan lunged for the laptop. Lucas caught him, pinning him against the wall with surprising strength. You're bluffing, Margaret said. I showed her my phone screen, her private emails, ready to blast to every contact she had. Try me. Mother, don't, Nathan started. Shut up, Nathan. Margaret's mask finally cracked. You stupid boy. If you hadn't gotten sloppy with the girl. The girl? Sophie stood up. I managed your books for 3 years. I know where every penny went. My finger hovered over the send button. 20 seconds. Margaret reached for her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. 10 seconds. You'll never prove. Done. I pressed send. The room exploded into chaos. Nathan lunged again, Sophie screamed something about promises, and Margaret. Margaret just sat there, watching her phone light up with notifications. Then she laughed. Oh, darling, she said, standing slowly. Did you really think I wouldn't have a backup plan? She pulled out a document, my graphic design contract with her charity. Funny thing about digital evidence. It's so easy to manipulate. Almost as easy as framing someone for fraud. My stomach dropped as I read the altered contract, seeing my signature on papers I'd never signed. Who do you think they'll believe? Margaret smiled. The respected charity founder, or the bitter wife who broke into my home and hacked my accounts? Lucas stepped forward. Evelyn. No. I closed my laptop. You're right, Margaret. Digital evidence is easy to manipulate. I reached into my bag and pulled out the one thing I hadn't told anyone about, the original handwritten ledger I'd found behind her safe. But your husband's accounting books? The ones you kept after he died? I placed them on the table. Those are harder to fake. The color drained from Margaret's face. Sometimes the best revenge isn't digital at all. The police arrived just as Margaret reached for the ledger. 2 officers, followed by a man in a suit who flashed his FBI badge. Perfect timing, Sophie said, standing. I believe you'll find everything you need in those books. Nathan's face contorted. You called them? No. Sophie smiled. I've been working with them for months. Did you really think I was just some naive mistress? The FBI agent picked up the ledger. Miss Walker has been very helpful in our investigation of the Carter Family Charitable Foundation. Margaret's composure finally shattered. You little snake. Actually, Sophie cut in, that would be Special Agent Walker. And you made it embarrassingly easy to track the money. I watched Nathan's world implode in real time. His eyes darted between his mother, Sophie, and me, desperately seeking an escape route that didn't exist. Mother? His voice cracked. Margaret lunged for her purse, but Lucas was faster. The gun she'd hidden there clattered across the hardwood floor. Add attempted assault to the charges, the agent said calmly. As they led Margaret away in handcuffs, she turned to Nathan. Fix this. You know what to do. But Nathan just stood there, shoulders slumped, watching his carefully constructed life crumble. The necklace, I said quietly. Was that your idea or hers? He wouldn't meet my eyes. She said it would keep Sophie happy while we moved the money. I never meant. Save it. I opened the front door. The FBI will want to talk to you too. Evelyn, please. He grabbed my arm. We can start over. I'll tell them everything about Mother's schemes. That's the difference between us, Nathan. I pulled free. You're still looking for someone to save you. I saved myself. Sophie, Agent Walker, paused beside me. The charity board is meeting tomorrow. They'll want to thank you for exposing this. I didn't do it for thanks. No, she said, watching Nathan being led to a separate car from his mother. You did it for justice. That's why we let you play it out your way. Lucas touched my shoulder. Ready to go? I looked around Margaret's perfect living room one last time. The family photos on the walls, the expensive furniture, the carefully curated image of success, all built on lies and manipulation. Almost. I pulled out the diamond necklace that had started it all and placed it on Margaret's favorite antique table. A parting gift. Something to remember me by. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about walking away and letting them destroy themselves. The morning paper sat unopened on Lucas's kitchen counter. Margaret and Nathan's faces splashed across the front page. I pushed it aside, focusing instead on my laptop screen and the new client proposal I was drafting. You're not going to read it? Lucas asked, sliding a coffee mug toward me. Don't need to. I adjusted an image in my design. I lived it. My phone buzzed, Agent Walker's text, plea deal accepted. Thought you should know. Lucas read over my shoulder. Is that enough? After everything they did? I closed the message without responding. The charity board had already voted to restructure, implementing every security measure I'd suggested. My designs would help rebuild their image, tell a new story. It felt right, using my skills to repair instead of destroy. The doorbell rang. That'll be the divorce papers, I said, but Lucas was already opening the door. Instead of a courier, Nathan stood there, looking smaller somehow in his wrinkled suit. 5 minutes, he said. Please. I nodded, following him onto the porch. The diamond necklace dangled from his fingers. Mother wanted me to return this. His voice cracked. Before they take her to federal prison. Keep it. Or better yet, sell it. You'll need the money. I deserve that. He stared at the necklace. I deserve all of this. But I need you to know, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Mother said. That's your problem, Nathan. It's always what Mother said. What Mother wanted. What Mother needed. And what do you need? The question caught me off guard. In all our years together, he'd never asked that. Nothing, I realized. Not from you. Not anymore. He nodded slowly, pocketing the necklace. Lucas is a good man. Yes, he is. But that's not why I'm staying here. Understanding flickered across his face. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. Goodbye, Nathan. I watched him walk away, no longer the man I'd married or the villain I'd wanted to destroy. Just a lost soul who'd never learned to stand alone. Back inside, Lucas had returned to his coffee. You okay? Actually, yes. I sat down at my laptop. Think the charity board would mind if I added some color to their new logo? He smiled. Getting creative again? Something like that. I opened a blank document. I'm done designing other people's stories. Time to create my own. The cursor blinked, waiting. Outside, the sun painted shadows across Lucas's kitchen wall, and for the first time in months, I felt truly, completely free. Not because I'd won. Not because they'd lost. But because I finally understood the best revenge isn't about destruction at all. It's about reconstruction.